Some recent comments by Florida Congressman Byron Donalds have been condemned by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the Congressional Black Caucus, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, and the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, just to name a few. In those comments at an event designed to help Republican outreach to black voters in Philadelphia earlier this week, Congressman Donalds made what certainly seemed like positive comments about the Jim Crow era. And he claims his critics are missing the context of what he said. So here's the context.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to my son.
Wow.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries, it's Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
I am joined now by Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for being here. We played that lengthy segment. That is what you posted on your social media. The part of what you said that people take issue with is this line, which I'm going to read back to you again. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but black people voted conservatively. But it is that during Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's what people have taken issue with. What are they missing?
Frankly, what's really happened is that you have, Democrats and you have the Biden campaign, and some of the media want to twist my words for political purposes. The overarching issue is talking just about black families and why you're seeing a trend of black people leaning towards Republicans in this election cycle and probably in election cycles to come. And part of that, is that when you're raising families, raising kids, et cetera, you're now thinking about all of the public policy issues, all of the economic issues, all of the education issues. And that's leading people to have divergence in political thoughts. That was the only point. The stuff that comes up about Jim Crow and twisting my words, saying I was being nostalgic or saying that Jim Crow was good for black people, that's all political spin. It's a lie. It's gaslighting. And that's truly unfortunate.
So here's the challenge, Congressman. You started out talking about your family, talking about your mom, talking about being raised, and you on your own brought up Jim Crow. In fact, you said Jim Crow 3 times for emphasis. It wasn't the media or the Democrats or gaslighters who brought up Jim Crow. It was you. You brought up Jim Crow. So why did you use Jim Crow specifically as your reference? You did that. No one else did that. You did it.
Oh, I did. We were having a conversation, just talking as, black people in Philadelphia. But if you're going to use the chronological timeline of America before the Great Society and Lyndon Johnson's time period, you had, unfortunately, the Jim Crow era in America. During that time period, the marriage rates of black Americans was significantly higher than any other time since then in American history. So it is a divergence if you're talking about marriage rates in the Black community. They have plummeted. And what we've seen recently in America, which is a very good thing we should all celebrate, is that the marriage rates in the Black community are rising again. That's good for Black families. That's definitely good for Black children. It's something I want to see. I'm quite sure you want to see it as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. Jim Crow lasted roughly from 1867 after the Civil War to 1968. Is there a specific period between 1867 and 1968 that you thought was this golden era for Black families, or a time that was good for Black families?
Joy, I never said that. And see, this is where the gaslighting comes in.
I'm going to read what you said.
All I was talking about was the marriage rates.
Stop. No,
Joy,
that's not what you said. Let's play what you said. Play what he said. Play what he said.
You're saying I said it was the golden era.
I'm going to play. I'm going to play what you said.
I said that it was better for Black families. I never said that. I said
play what he said.
Play what I said.
Please play what he said.
During Jim Crow, the Black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people are always a bit conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
Okay, so now I'm going to go back. You said during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. What was the authority of the Black father in the Black family during Jim Crow?
Well, listen, under Jim Crow, obviously, Black people were under great persecution, unfortunately, by Southern Democrats and the Democrat Party overall in the history of our country. That's the fact. And so, well, let me finish now, Joy. And so having the Black man in the home was about first protecting the mom and protecting the kids. Incredibly important. It was the leadership in the home, which is incredibly valuable. And I think what we're witnessing, obviously, the last 30 years, definitely through my generation, is Black fathers being at home is incredibly important for the success of Black children going forward. And it's not just a Black thing, that's everybody. Fathers in home help to breed success for kids moving forward. That is a great thing for our country. That's something that has been proven throughout time. So what I'm talking about is not the golden era of Jim Crow. That's ridiculous. I would never say that. And that is the gaslighting that I'm standing up to, because that's what Hakeem Jeffries, the Biden campaign, Jamie Harrison, and the like are trying to trying to bring up. And unfortunately, the media has followed suit with misleading headlines, and that's wrong.
Now I'm going to talk. Do I have a chance? Good. Now, you talked about the Black father being in the family, being able to protect the family. First, I want to read, just for our audience, the definition of Jim Crow, just so we all know what we're talking about. Jim Crow laws were a collection of state and local statutes that legalized racial segregation. They existed essentially from the post-Civil War era. They were meant to marginalize African Americans by denying them the right to vote, hold jobs, get an education, and other opportunities. Those who attempted to defy Jim Crow laws often faced arrest, fines, jail sentences, violence, and death. Now I want to talk about something that happened during this era. You said that what you were talking about was the presence of the Black father in the home to protect his wife and family. In 1943, in the state that you represent, in Florida, a young man named Willie James Howard, who was 15 years old, was lynched. During Christmas of 1943, Willie Howard sent cards to all of his coworkers at the Van Priest Dime Store in Live Oak, Florida. Unlike the other cards, Willie's card to Cynthia Goff, a white store employee, revealed a youthful crush. His greeting expressed hope that white people would someday like Black people, and concluded, "I love your name, I love your voice. For SH, sweetheart, you are my choice." After reading the card, Cynthia's father, Phil Goff, brought two friends to the Howard home and demanded to see Willie. Despite his mother's pleading, the men dragged Willie away and then kidnapped Willie's father, James Howard, from work. The men drove the two Howards, to the embankment of the Suwannee River, bound Willie's hands and feet, stood him at the edge of the water, and told him to either jump or be shot. Willie jumped into the cold water below and drowned while his father was forced to watch at gunpoint. Willie's dead body was pulled from the river the next day. You said that during the Jim Crow era, the importance of having a Black man in the home was to protect his family and to protect his wife. I actually spoke with somebody who lived through Jim Crow. Her name is Myrlie Evers Williams. And Myrlie quoted to me a man named Charles Silverman, who wrote in Crisis in Black and White, that in 1890, the year that the Mississippi Constitution was written, the policy of crushing out the manhood of the Negro citizens was to be carried out with success. So the man in the home home during Jim Crow had no rights, could not protect his wife from rape, could not protect his son from lynching. So again, why would you quote that era and say that at that time, the family all being in the home together was something we should think of as a good thing?
Well, first of all, Joy, the story you bring up and you're bringing up is a tragedy, one of the great tragedies of the Jim Crow era.
I'm asking
this is why those policies they were disgusting and distasteful. All I was talking about, Joy,
was the benefit of a man in the
black
family. Again, sir, I'm sorry,
Joy,
I let you talk for a long time. Sorry, I only no. Talk over you. You've gotten a chance to speak a lot, Congressman. You're going to answer my question now and not filibuster. This is the question you want. This is the question you need to answer.
That's what I'm trying to answer.
If black men,
that's what I'm trying to answer, Joy.
Give me a second. Take a breath. Take a breath. If a black man could not protect. It's my show. If a black man, a black father, could not protect his wife, his son, or himself from lynching and violence, how is him being in the home mean that that is an era that was better for the black family, or that we should think of as a good thing?
First of all, Joy, I never said that it was better for black people in Jim Crow. I have never said that, and even my own words say that. If you're talking about the importance of black fathers in the home, or frankly, all fathers in the home, it is always for the betterment of children, to have leadership, yes, for safety. So having two people in the home to help provide the economic needs for those children so the family can succeed. That is a wonderful thing. We should always get back to that, not to Jim Crow. And this is the point of the gaslighting and the lying that is occurring with what I said. Don't try to impose the fact that the marriage rates were better in the higher, I want to be clear, higher in the Jim Crow era to mean that I think Jim Crow is great. That is a lie. That is gaslighting. I would never say such a thing, which is why the Jim Crow era was destructive of black people.
You brought it up. You're the one who brought it up. Today was yet another day that the Supreme Court chose not to issue key rulings on abortion, access, guns, or presidential immunity. And it's been roughly 2 weeks since we learned that the Alitos foisted an inverted flag and an appeal to heaven flag, both of which were carried by insurrectionists outside the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Recently, we've received regular reminders of how Donald Trump and Leonard Leo, a longtime pal of Clarence Thomas, have successfully built a conservative federal judiciary with a deep bench and feeder system supported by a big donor network that regularly wines and dines these judges. Leo's stated goal with all of this corrupt, incestuous behavior is to defeat, quote, unchurched and vile, immoral, current-day barbarians, secularists, whom the devil is using to move society away from its natural order, unquote. Huffington Post uncovered the latest example of that rotten playbook in action. Down in Florida, back in 2022, during the tail end of the COVID pandemic, an underqualified Trump-nominated judge issued a ruling against mask mandates. This judge used a weird, never-used legal theory that you could word search like key phrases and apply the old-timey meanings to provide legitimacy to the ruling. And guess where this judge got this legal theory? At a Koch-funded, all-expenses-paid luxury trip where the primary mission was persuading federal judges to adopt this arcane theory. And guess who the judge clerked for? You guessed it, Clarence Thomas. Today, Fix the Court reported that, according to their tally, Justice Thomas has received the most gifts of any judge dating back to the Antonin Scalia era during his time on the court, by a mile, with 193 gifts totaling more than $4 million. I'm joined now by Elie Mystal, justice correspondent for The Nation. So at this point, Elie, I guess they just take all the 30-year-old right-wing college graduates from Liberty University and just send them on fancy trips, and then they're Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, I think it's important for people to ask, what are these people paying for, right? Yeah. What are they getting for their $4 million they've given to Clarence Thomas over the past 20 years? And what they're getting, just to link your last segment together, what they're getting is what Byron Donalds wants. What they're getting is Jim Crow, right? What they're getting is a guy like Clarence Thomas who, like Byron Donalds, entire judicial philosophy is that, well, some Negroes are magic, right? No matter what the white man does to us, we can just rise above as long as they don't shoot us or kill us or rape us or drown us, right? And if you tell people that, if you're black, if you're Donalds, if you're Thomas, and you tell white people that, they will give you money. And that is what's happened to Clarence Thomas for 20 years. He has told white folks exactly what they want to hear, ruled exactly as they would like him to rule, and done it as their black friend. And so the money is just pouring out. And you see it in these reports where, again, Clarence Thomas, in the figures that we saw today, Sam Alito made like $200,000 over the past, disclosed gifts over the past 20 years. Antonin Scalia, the hero of their movement, again around $200,000. Clarence Thomas, $4 million.
It's wild.
That's why Tim Scott exists. That's why Byron Donald exists. That's why Candace Owens exists, because the grift is good. There's a lot of money in telling white folks what they need to hear.
It is amazing, because when I looked at the chart, it was like, I thought that Clarence Thomas's was the total, because it was so much bigger. Antonin Scalia, like you said, is six figures. He's in the 2, the 3 to 4. This guy is, and you're right, it is a thing that the right is willing to pay extra to get women, and especially black people, to tell them what they want to hear about women and black people. Tell them that black people don't want to be able to have a fearless fund. They shouldn't be able to give 20. I wanted, if I had time, to ask him if he supported the Fearless Fund being not able to give grants out. I'm sure he does, because that's what he's supposed to say.
I mean, look, it makes me I looked at that chart today. I look at people like Donaldson and think, man, I made the wrong financial choices in my life, right? Because there's money out there for these people, but always remember, and I just want folks to remember this, they're getting something for their money.
Yes, they are.
This isn't charity, right? They're getting rulings, they're getting opinions, they're getting the kind of return to not 1950s, but to the 1850s that they want for their funds. And if we, the rest of us who are not making it, the other funny thing is that, you saw like the liberals, like Sotomayor, had like a bunch of gifts, but they were clearly all like $5, right? People are giving, like, here's a flower, Sonia, like that's what she was getting, right? So all of us who don't have the money to buy our own Supreme Court justices, what we need to do is use what power we have, the power we didn't have during the Jim Crow South, and go out and vote for people who are going to hold the Supreme Court justices to heal through ethics legislation and other reforms. Hank Johnson, congressman from Georgia, my man, he's got an ethics bill right now on the House floor. We need to vote for people who are going to support that bill, and ask our political leaders when we go to vote, are you going to support ethics reform?
Yes.
No more nice letters, all right? No more like, oh, we're not, no more of that stuff. Are you going to support the bills to stop these people from graft?
Amen, my brother. Elie Mystal, who understands what Jim Crow was and also what the grift looks like, because the grift is good for Clarence and them. Thank you very much, Elie Mystal.